Good afternoon, everyone. It's June 10, 5 o'clock or 5:03. Welcome to Maple Broadband's Governing Board meeting for the month of June. To get started, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second from someone? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Thank you, everyone. Minutes. Minutes have been issued a few days ago for the May 13 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Paul puts a motion.
Second.
I have a second from Shannon. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Any nays or abstentions there? Okay.
I was going to say I'll abstain. I wasn't in the meeting, unfortunately, last month. Justin Boyer, Cornwall.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. Okay. We'll open the floor to public comments. If there are any of those, anyone have anything that they'd like to say before we get started? Okay, we're plugging away. Chair report. Most of what I'd love to talk about is going to probably come up in executive session a little later on. I think the general comment, I think I'm kind of underscoring something that Nancy had said recently, which is that when you go into executive session, there's a couple reasons that we're doing that. And one is because it's involved with BEAD, and we're expected to remain silent and not discuss BEAD. So that's something that we might do during executive session. The other matter that I think will come up today will be what our plans are, what our construction plans are for this year. And we want to do that in executive session as well, because we are doing our best to protect our plans and keep our competition from knowing what we're doing, which will hopefully give us a jump on some of our activities. So in general, just to kind of remind you that there's a really solid reason that we're expecting you to respect the rules under an executive session when we get to that point. Delegate part. Okay, we have a delegate participation policy and expectations. That one was submitted for the governing board review at the last meeting. I think a number of people wanted some time to review that document. After that, we did receive some contributions to the document, and they've been reissued, and the document that has been posted for you today, was posted for you several days ago, is the prevailing one. And so it is current, and there's two ways we can do this. We can, love it, Paul.
Yeah, Steve, thanks. I just have one little minor comment, and that's on item number 5, which says Maple Broadband Governing Board members are expected to adhere to all policies and procedures, ... I think that should be changed to shall adhere to all Maple Broadband policies, not are expected to. And I'll leave it up to you as to decide whether or not that's editorial or not.
Yeah. I personally think that's a great addition. Shannon, are you taking notes?
Yep, I've got a hard copy in front of me and making changes as people make comments. So
Okay.
that's a perfect one.
Thank you,
Ross.
Shannon.
Ross, comments?
Yeah, I also had a question about number 5. It refers to us observing the Addison County conflict of interest policy. Was that the Addison County Economic Development Policy or the Addison County Regional Planning Commission? I'm a little confused on that one.
Sorry, that's supposed to be hours.
Yeah,
It
Ross,
says Addison County Communication CUD Communication Union District. So that is the basic business name of our organization.
I guess the
And
version
it
I
is-
was looking at didn't have that. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
we can throw that in. That's not a problem. The CUD portion in there.
It's there, Shannon.
Addison, well, it says Addison County CUD bylaws, and then it says, and the Addison County Conflict of Interest Policy.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean.
Yeah, so we just need to add, to articulate
Got
that
it.
and
Got
clarify.
it. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Ross.
any other observations, comments, concerns? We'll get it into play here. I'll make a motion that we adopt the newly established delegate participation policy and expectations. Is there a second? We have a second from Paul. Discussion.
Just to clarify, Steve, the motion is to accept it with those two friendly amendments just made.
Correct. I guess we're all okay with the way it's done, so we're looking to approve with friendly amendments the delegate participation policy and expectations. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're just cruising through this, aren't we? Okay.
Ellie, I'll get the revised and adopted policy to you probably tomorrow morning.
Thank you. And I'll post on the website, everyone.
Thank you. Up to financial dashboard. Lynn, is this, will you take the floor to begin with, and then we can hand off the last part to Ellie?
I can
Sure.
share my screen.
Yeah.
I'm
I
ready.
think
I'm ready.
Okay, so Ellie and I are probably going to participate together on the dashboard and audit discussion. So just quickly for active grants, you can see we have 2.7 million plus, and which is not so different than last month. The construction can only be used for construction, the 799. The pre-construction is a little more flexible. And anyway, I don't know if I have much more to say about that unless anybody has questions. Any questions?
I have only one comment, which is I wanted to call everyone's attention to this BEAD subrecipient capacity grant. So under the terms of that grant, we had to finish it when the BEAD applications were submitted in the middle of April. And then we had to file our closeout reports, I forget when, but a couple of weeks after that. So that was done, and we actually wound up, for a variety of reasons, we didn't wind up spending all of the money that was allocated. So the amount of the award was $169,800. The total expenses were just shy of 116,000. So we actually received more cash than that. So I'm expecting when the VCB finishes with the closeout and the true up, we're actually going to have to return the $20,000 that we received that we didn't spend. So just to let everyone know that.
You just cut out, Ellie.
I apologize. It's fiber. I don't know why. How much of that did you hear?
I heard it all.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, maybe it's me.
Yeah, I heard it all.
You
Okay.
did. Okay, it's Fidium then.
You can watch the recording. That's also fiber. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Okay. And then Ellie, do you want to say anything about the operations tab?
Sure, I'll make this a little bigger as usual. Again, I'm not really sure there's too much to report. One of the things that I think I talked about last month is that per our financial policies and procedures, we revise our business model twice a year. And so you'll see that was just done in April as part of the BEAD submission. And so you'll see that our adherence to plan is a little bit closer to when we revise the business plan, actually, or obviously. So We had 14 new installations last month, and the plan was 15, so that was quite close. We're over on phone service, and the reason for that actually is that in the business model, if you look down here, I had quite conservative projections in terms of how many people would take different products. And so that's appropriate for a business model. You want to make sure that it's conservative in terms of what product mix people are purchasing, that you presume that more people are purchasing lower priced products than higher priced products. So there is that variance. So that's why the business model has a little bit of a lower average revenue per user, or ARPU, than what we're actually seeing in practice. But other than that, we haven't really seen too much of a change month over month in terms of what products people are purchasing, or really too much of anything. The ARPU is very similar. The take rate is up. It's nearly 16% now, and our total broadband and services revenue is near $250,000 top line revenue. So that's not too bad for 5 months in. And we've talked before, and we have a section on marketing later in the agenda, but obviously one of the things that we've talked about doing strategically is working more closely with our marketing firm this summer and doing a lot more marketing activities, a lot more marketing activations, a lot more in-person kinds of events to see what we can't do to get that take rates to be even higher in the areas we have existing network. So I can entertain any questions that anyone has on this tab, if anyone has any.
Yeah, Ellie, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, what was the steady state take rate going to be? I don't remember what it was projected to be.
What do you mean
You know
by
what I
steady state take
But
rates?
after it's been, all the services been rolled out, all the infrastructure's been rolled out, roughly how many people do we expect to be subscribers on an ongoing basis?
That I can have a look. I would probably rather answer that in executive session, if you don't mind,
Okay.
just because that could potentially be confidential information. So,
Okay,
but
I'm just curious.
I'll have a look at the business model and give you like the 5-year out, what it's projecting right now. We can do that when we get into executive session later.
Yeah, or you can do it out of band. It's not critical. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, I'll stop sharing. We can move on to the audit.
Ellie, I just wanted to remind everybody that and you might all remember this, we're not looking at budget to actual on a monthly basis. We're doing it quarterly. So we'll be looking at the June 30th numbers in July. So anyway, that's why we're moving on.
Yep. Okay. So next on the agenda is the audit update. If you want to go ahead and give that, Lynn.
Sure. I can tell you, when I saw that the final audited report come in this afternoon, I felt tremendous relief and glee. So anyway, the good news is the report is done. The Finance Committee had a chance to review it ahead of time and to we included their input in terms of the draft report. All of that went to Bonnie last night. Bonnie was able to update the draft report. So the good news is we got, and maybe all of you saw this, but on the audited report on page 3, paragraph 2, under opinion, that we got a clean opinion, which is great news. That's what we want. So hallelujah. Not that I wasn't expecting that, but it's always a relief to see that when you've had an audit. And as somebody who's pretty new to this organization, this audit report is very delayed and needed an enormous amount of work to bring it over the finish line. And so I'm delighted that we have a clean report. And so that was what page? That was the 3rd page. And then on the 4th page, I was also glad under the supplementary information, there was an opinion stated in there as well, that the federal reports were fairly stated in all material respects in relation to the financial statements as a whole. So because all the funding is federal, that's also, for me, a pretty important piece of information as well. What else? I guess I'll just open it up for questions, and Ellie and or I will field the questions you have. Steve?
I recall reading somewhere in the documentation that that we were looking for the VCBB to weigh in on the audit. Is that still open, or did I misunderstand that?
We needed them to provide close the end of year balances of the grants, how much we'd invoiced, how much they'd sent us, and they did provide that. So that's closed.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Good question. Yep. Anybody else have a question? Any questions?
Ross.
Ross, go ahead, Ross.
Yeah, I thought I saw a second version of the written audit come in at the last minute. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you just, for us lay people, tell us the difference between the first version and the second version?
Sure. I mean, some of it, as Ellie referred to, they were just small things like typos, and a couple of things in terms of reclassification. And I have my marked up copy. Let's see.
I can give a couple examples. There was an
Yeah.
error, for example, in the 2022 comparison. It had the construction in progress, the network assets were flipped. So it said that we had over $2 million of capitalized assets at the end of 22, which in no construction in progress, which was opposite. And then there was one thing where there was a reimbursement from a supplier that was grouped in with services revenues. So we made sure that was split out. And there was a place where interest income was labeled as interest expense. And there were a couple typos, as Lynn mentioned. I think website was misspelled, construction was misspelled. And and then also the depreciation period for network electronics and customer premises equipment was 15 years. And so upon further review, the RUS standard is closer to 10 years. So Bonnie adjusted that. So it was things along those lines. I mean, not major things, but obviously you want to make sure that all of the details are correct, not just the high level summary.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that was sent through prior is the draft version that we are wishing to put forth for a motion to approve from the governing board so that we can sign it and file it and have it done. That's the one that includes all the changes identified by the finance committee, and we believe it to be correct and accurate in all regards.
If anyone in the governing board would like to read the audit, and they haven't had a chance to do so yet, then I think we might want to wait on giving approval. But if everyone is satisfied that we've got a winner here, I'm fine with signing off on it. Zapata.
I will say that the version that was distributed on Friday is 99.9% accurate. I mean, there's really only a couple things that I just identified that were different. But it was only a few days ago you got it.
And Ellie, I'm just trying to check because I've now checked both of my emails and I'm not seeing your email that came through on Friday. And I'm wondering if I was not included or if somehow it, disappeared in the Netherlands.
Did you get the one that came this afternoon at 4?
No.
Okay. I'll forward it again, Zapata, and I'll just double check my distribution list.
Okay, thank you.
Zapata, would you like to defer on final approval of this until you have a chance to review that information? I don't think it matters a lot. We've been waiting about 2 years for this. So
I was gonna say, to be honest, no, because I wasn't even the delegate back when this all started. So I have very little understanding as to what was happening leading up to how this process initiated. So I think that with the folks that have been consistent, having reviewed it and feel, good and solid about the information that's being conveyed, that's, I'm comfortable with that.
Great, thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? I make a motion, we approve there's Ross. Hey, Ross, can you wait until we get the motion out there and then we can do questions? I'm making a motion that we approve the audit as submitted by Lynn and Ellie.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Okay. All right, thanks, everyone. So, questions, discussion. I think we had a Ross question. Looks like we also got a Justin question.
I didn't have a question. I was just going to make the motion.
Thanks, Russ.
Justin.
Same here. I was just copying Ross.
Well, better too many than not enough, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Discussion, questions? Okay. All in favor of approving the audit as submitted this afternoon, raise your hand or say aye. Any disapproves? Any abstentions? Awesome. I can stop holding my breath.
Mm-hmm.
Took a
Me too.
long time. All right. Moving right along. Marketing. Ellie, I know you probably got a fair amount to review with us on that one.
Yeah. Okay, so let me share my screen. First of all, let me get this thing up and share my screen quickly. Hang on. Okay. Oh, geez, sorry. My phone is ringing. Of course it is. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right. So this is basically a recap of our presentation that London Middlebury did to our executive committee last week. And I'll run through it fairly quickly here. But essentially, one of the things that we asked them to do and that they said was important as part of their pitch, and we agreed is important, is when you're talking about marketing, it's important to make sure that you identify and track the efficacy and success of your marketing efforts to the degree that it's possible. It's one of the truisms in marketing is that, half of your marketing budget is wasted if you don't know which half. Having said that, with some of the lines that we're doing, we can actually be able to track interest and signups that come from events and whatnot. So obviously the first thing that we're trying to focus on is customer acquisition. As I said earlier, trying to get that take rate higher. So we're going to be looking at how many new orders we have, how many new customers with the intent to exceed what's in the current business plan by 15%. And then obviously that take rate. And then around digital engagement, I mean, you guys can read the metrics, but essentially we're going to start. I mean, we already track the email open rate, which I don't recall off the top of my head what it is, but I think it's around this. I think it's in the high 20s. We want to get a little bit higher. And social media, we do have social media accounts. If you guys aren't following on social media, I would encourage you to follow and share, and because we still don't have a very big following and we're trying to get it up. It does help. And then website, one of the things that you guys may recall is we contract with London Middlebury to redo our website. The aim is to get that up by the end of this month. They owe me very soon a draft website that I can start to review. We've been over the site architecture, but I have yet to see the actual website. And one of the things that they're doing that you guys may have seen as well on social media and Front Porch Forum posts and newsletter is we're soliciting members of the community to participate in a photo shoot because we have a photographer going around to take local photographs and also photographs of customers and community. And so I would also encourage anyone as part of the governing board, we want local faces. So if you have any interest whatsoever, please reach out so we can take photographs of you or your neighborhood as well. So anyway, website traffic engagement, and then, as I mentioned, part of what we're doing, Spot, I'll get to in a sec when I'm done. Part of what we're also doing more of this summer is doing more in-person events. So we have a couple of pop-up events that we're planning. So there's markets, there's a pop-up event that we're planning, and obviously the field days this summer, and then we also have a door-to-door campaign. So, Zapata, any questions on that?
Yeah, I was just wondering in regards to the website engagement, I'm not a customer, at least not yet. Is there an option to be able to pay your bill online that might drive people to go to the website more often?
There is. It's up there now, and I haven't seen the draft website yet to see exactly how this is highlighted. It's a little bit of a funny thing because the way that the online payment works is shared between ourselves and Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom and NEKCV, and there's no way to brand it just for us. So it looks a little funny, but nonetheless, conceptually, I mean, it is there even right now, but it's a little bit buried because the website we had started off when we were a district that hadn't built anything, and we kind of hacked it into being more of a service provider website. But what you typically see with customer self-service and my account and that sort of thing is part of what they've taken into account with the redesign. Okay, so that's KPIs. And then one of the other things that we've talked about as well is trying to engage local people, whether yourselves as governing board members or some people have reached out over the years and expressed interest in volunteering for Maple Broadband and soliciting more of these to help participate so that it's not just my face every single time we have an event. And also, to the degree that we're doing door-to-door campaigns, it makes more sense to have local people doing that than random people off the street. So they're working on putting together materials to engage the volunteers and train them, and working on a door-to-door campaign. I know there's a lot of interest in this, and so they're still busy planning it, and I look forward soon to being able to tell you about the launch and sharing some of the success metrics. Questions on this? Okay. So here's an overview of the campaigns that we're doing in 2025. So obviously general brand awareness, we're continuing to do general above the line marketing to raise awareness of the brand and who we are and what we are. I mean, just anecdotally speaking to people in the community, a lot of people honestly have no idea that we're government. I mean, they've heard of Maple Broadband. They don't know that we're municipal. They don't know that we're not-for-profit. They don't know any of that. So continuing to tell our story and spread that information. We have a couple of different things that we're doing around. So the aerial option is customers who signed up in Crowd Fiber for whom the last portion of their connection is buried and they haven't completed the connection. So we're going to be reaching out to them for some of them, they could be connected via an aerial option. So we want to reach out and try and see if we can't get those people connected. And then there are people that we have, residences we've identified that we believe we can connect aerially and quickly. We want to be encouraging those to sign up by giving a discounted installation in order to get them on the network faster. I mentioned earlier the pop-up event. So this is basically a try before you buy, but it will be a pop-up event with a try the Maple Broadband service. And then what they're calling registration stacking, which again is having pop-up events in local areas, trying to get as many people in a given geographic area to sign up as possible in order to, again, build word of mouth and then also to be able to get some faster installations because there's a bit of critical mass for WCVT there. Spada.
When you say a pop-up event, are you taking advantage of already established events like farmer markets and others where we're going to have a presence, or is it going to be a standalone type of event that's going to be advertised?
A combination of the two. It depends. But we're definitely talking about both. So obviously we are going to be doing some of the former, but there's at least one of the latter that's in the works that I'll tell you about when we are further down. But I think you'll find it pretty exciting. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so one more thing here. I think, this is talking about the website build. I've talked about this a little bit. This is where we are. So in a couple days, I'm going to start to see it, and then we launch. And the final thing we want to bring your attention to is we have discussed this before here, and we continue discussion in executive committee. But one of the things that came up in the market research that London Middlebury did is consumers are confused about the relationship between ourselves and Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom. And so one of the things that came out of that was a recommendation that we explore and potentially engage in co-branding. And after weeks and months of discussion and some design work and obviously discussion and alignment with WCBT, this is what we've come up with, and this is what the executive committee has approved as of last week. So not every single Maple Broadband marketing is going to be co-branded, but the ones that are customer facing that have to do with service delivery will be. So this is going to reduce customer confusion, and it's also going to tie us to a well-known, well-established brand. And also on the flip side, it's going to have the other effect of our brand will also be more tied to WCBT. So hopefully, they obviously have a high customer service ethos anyway, but it wouldn't hurt also for them to understand and for their staff to understand that if something doesn't go nicely in its Maple Broadband, their brand is also tied to it. So I think that this is really a win-win-win for customers, for us, and for them. Ben.
So yeah, I don't really have a question, but as a Bristol resident, I find myself I talk about Maple Broadband a lot in the context of the WCVT connection, and I usually have to take a long time to explain it. So to people who don't really understand, so I think this is just great, especially for Bristol because of the service territory. So I'm very glad to see this.
Great. And Ross.
You mentioned that you had gone over this with, sorry about the WCVT, and they were okay with this. Have they seen this actual stuff?
Yes, they absolutely have. So let me mute you. Sorry. It's okay when you're talking, but it drives me completely bananas. So yes, we went through a couple of iterations of design with them, and one of the things that you'll note here, just as a design detail, is their typical logo is colored blue and green, and their blue and green next to our logo looks absolutely horrific, and so that's why we jointly decided on either it's going to be all white or all black. So it's their logo; it's recognizable as their logo. But the other thing that's nice is that it also does have the secondary effect of making it look like a secondary logo, because we also didn't want the eye to be drawn too much to their brand, because at the end of the day, it's our brand that's being empowered by their brand. But yes, they've absolutely seen this. They're on board, and the London Middlebury team and I made sure that they were happy with this treatment before even taking it to executive committee, because otherwise it would have been a waste of time to get approval and then we have to go back and they're not happy. So, but good question. Thank you. Okay, and that's all that I have for the marketing presentation. Does anyone have any other questions or any questions about it? Anything I haven't covered? Drew.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to suggest if there was informational videos or anything, I'd love to put them on the bulletin board for NCTV, because our viewership is about 75% of the town of Middlebury. And if people are confused about like what broadband is or how high-speed broadband can get to them or what it can do for them, I think that would be a great avenue to host those videos, because we have on our linear offerings, we have what's called the bulletin board, which is just our commercials, since we're not a commercial station. So we have and those are for advertisements for local events that are nonprofit related, or events for the arts or things like that. And so if they're little short ones, I think it would be cool to host them during when the bulletin board plays, which is usually, so in between every program, we run about 10 to 15 minutes of the bulletin board. Or if they're longer informational videos about why broadband is important or how it's coming to rural areas, I think that could be even just bigger feature pieces. I think that would be fun to share with people.
Okay, Drew, I think you've approached me before. It's been a super busy time, but I think maybe we should schedule just a quick call between you and me and London Middlebury to talk about, because there's other things. I mean, we also have that connected documentary that's that's available that I think Ross has talked about sharing before. So we should just have a talk about this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
I figured you were very busy running a broadband company. So as somebody who loves technology, I know what it takes to run the service. So definitely take your time on it. But I feel like that could be, especially if it's just purely informational about things locally happening. Would be really cool.
Maya. Well, so now you know that Maya has showered and her Band-Aid has come off.
Yeah, because I had a little boo-boo. Because
All right. Thank you, Drew.
I had.
Ross, you had a question? You're
No,
still
sorry,
muted.
that was,
Sorry.
that was the hand
Okay.
from earlier.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Anything else on marketing? Okay,
I'm good.
all right. Well, let's move into executive session so we can kind of catch up on what we're doing and what we're thinking about doing. I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding Maple Broadband's business strategy would clearly place us at a substantial disadvantage because it risks disclosure of our activities if they were to be communicated to the public. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, all. I move that we enter into executive session to discuss business strategy under Title I, Section 313, subsection A of the Vermont statutes. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Okay.
Hell yeah. See you guys. It was great visiting with everyone.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, there's nothing more interesting after this, Jose. So chat to you soon.
Great stuff. And I will mention quickly that we are doing some recent videos, and maybe there's some material. I'll talk to you about that. Maybe there's something you guys could.
Okay.
Thanks, Jose.